Come in quietly. Leave the noise of the world behind you, just outside this door. Tonight, there is nowhere you need to be. Nothing you need to do. Only this, a soft seat by a curved window, a blanket heavy across your knees, and the sound of rain finding its way home through an ancient forest. You are aboard a train that has traveled this way for longer than memory. Somewhere behind you, a silver samovar breathes its quiet steam into the air, warm and faintly sweet, like black tea and old wood. Let your shoulders fall. Let your eyes soften. You do not need to follow every word. You can drift and return and drift again. That is exactly what this journey is for. Outside, the rain is falling on 1,000 miles of pine. Inside, you are warm. Inside, you are safe. Let us begin slowly, the way all good winter nights begin with rain on the window, and nowhere left to go but deeper into rest. Settle back into the velvet of your armchair. Feel how it holds you, the way it has held countless travelers before you, each one arriving tired, each one leaving a little softer than they came. The window beside you is vast and curved, framed in dark polished wood, and beyond it, the world has become only two things: darkness and rain. You cannot see the forest, not really. Not in this hour, not in this weather. But you can feel it, mile after mile of ancient pine, standing the way they have always stood, patient, indifferent, endless. Somewhere out there, rain is falling on millions of needles all at once, a sound so vast it becomes something else entirely. Not noise. Silence, almost. A silence made of water. You lean your head, just slightly, toward the cool glass. It hums faintly with the motion of the train, a vibration so steady it feels like breathing. Somewhere far beneath you, wheels roll over rails that have carried this same rhythm for 100 years. Clack, pause. Clack, slow, unhurried, patient as the forest itself. There is nowhere to arrive tonight. There is only the traveling. The samovar on the table beside you exhales another soft curl of steam. It smells of dark tea leaves and faintly of cloves, the way it must have smelled to travelers a century ago. Sitting exactly where you are sitting now, watching exactly this same rain. You reach out, slowly, and wrap both hands around your cup. The warmth spreads up through your fingers, into your wrists, up your arms, settling somewhere deep in your chest. Outside cold, wet, endless forest. Inside warm hands, warm tea, warm light. This is the gift of the taiga at night. It asks nothing of you. It does not need to be understood, or crossed quickly, or feared. It simply continues the way it has continued since long before there were tracks laid across it, since long before there were trains at all. You are only passing through. A brief warmth, moving quietly across something impossibly old. Somewhere out in that darkness, The rain is falling on rivers you will never see, on animal paths worn soft by centuries of quiet crossings, on the roofs of villages so small they exist only as a single golden window, glimpsed and gone. You saw one such window a while ago, just a flicker of amber light, low to the ground, swallowed by trees almost before you noticed it. A stove burning somewhere, a family, perhaps, gathered close, listening to this very same rain. You wonder gently who they might be, and then you let the thought go, the way you let go of most thoughts tonight, softly, without effort, like exhaling. There is a particular peace in being disconnected like this. No signal reaches you here. No small glowing screens demand your attention. There is only the window, the rain, the tea, and the low, endless murmur of the train moving through the dark. Your phone rests somewhere in your bag, forgotten. The modern world has receded, the way tides recede, leaving only this car, this window, this hour, this rain. You do not miss it. Let your gaze drift along the glass, tracing the paths of individual raindrops as they merge and split and merge again, sliding sideways in the wind of the train's own movement. Each one catches, for just a moment, the dim gold light from the lamp beside you, before disappearing into the dark beyond. It is a small thing to watch, but small things tonight are enough. They are, perhaps, exactly what you need. Somewhere ahead of you, the tracks curve gently, following the slow logic of rivers and hills that predate any human decision. The engineers who built this line so long ago had to listen to the land before they could cross it. They could not force their way through the taiga. They had to move with it. You feel that same surrender settling into your own body now. You are not forcing anything tonight. Not sleep, not rest, not peace. You are simply allowing the rhythm of the train to carry you, the way the rain carries itself downward, unhurried, certain of where it is going. Your blanket has grown warm against your legs. The wool is heavy, almost old-fashioned, the kind of warmth that settles rather than insulates. You pull it a little higher, toward your waist, and notice how the sound of rain against glass has begun to feel less like weather and more like company. It has always been raining, it seems. It will always be raining, out there, beyond the reach of this warm little room. And in here, you will always be exactly this warm. The forest continues, mile after unseen mile. You do not need to see it to know it is there. The pines, black and silver in the dark, needles bending under the weight of water, roots holding fast to soil that has known 10,000 winters and as many springs. You are only a guest in this vastness, a small, warm light moving through something ancient and larger than any single life. There is comfort in being small like this, in mattering only a little for only a while to a landscape so old it has forgotten how to hurry. Let your eyes close if they haven't already. The rain will keep falling whether you watch it or not. The forest will keep breathing whether you notice or not. You are being carried. That is all you need to know tonight. Somewhere in the gentle sway of the carriage, your mind begins to wander backward, past the rails, past the engineers, past even the idea of trains altogether. Long before steel ever touched this land, there were other travelers moving through this same darkness, guided only by starlight and rivers, and the memory of those who had walked the path before them. Imagine them now if you like, not with urgency, only with soft curiosity, the way you might imagine an old photograph coming slowly into focus. Camel caravans, moving in long, patient lines across terrain that shifted from desert to steppe to forest, carrying bundles of raw silk, small clay jars of spice, rolled parchments, and something even more valuable than any of these stories, passed from town to town, mouth to mouth, the way rain passes from cloud to cloud before it finally falls. These traders knew weather the way sailors know the sea. They could read a darkening sky the way you might read a familiar face. And when the rains came heavy, sudden, relentless, they knew, without needing to discuss it, exactly what to do. They sought shelter, not grand shelter, simple shelter. A cluster of low stone buildings at the edge of a trade route, a fire already lit by whoever had arrived first, a roof thick enough to hold back the storm. Picture one such outpost now, tucked into a fold of hills much like the ones your train is gliding past this very moment. Thick clay walls, a single square window, glowing amber in the wet dark. Inside, exhausted travelers from a dozen different lands, speaking a dozen different tongues, brought together by nothing more than the simple, universal need to be warm and dry. There would have been little conversation at first, only the quiet business of unpacking, of drying wet cloaks near the fire, of settling animals into whatever shelter could be found for them too. And then, slowly, as the rain settled into its rhythm outside, someone would begin to speak. Perhaps it was an old trader, weathered by 40 years of crossings, his voice low and unhurried, the way voices become after decades of practice in patience. He might have spoken of a mountain pass 3 days to the west, where the wind carried voices of travelers lost centuries before, still calling out directions to no one. Or perhaps a younger trader, still new to these roads, would share a smaller story. A market in a city so far south that snow was only a rumor there, where the air smelled of cardamom and orange blossom even in winter. Each story was a kind of currency too, as valuable in its way as anything carried in their packs. You find yourself imagining the sound of that room. Rain on a thick clay roof is different from rain on glass, heavier somehow, more muffled, like the whole building is wrapped in a single soft blanket. Beneath it, the low murmur of a dozen quiet conversations, the occasional soft laugh, the comforting clink of a shared pot of tea being passed from hand to hand. No one was in a hurry. The storm outside made certain of that. There was nowhere to go until it passed, and so, for one night, strangers became something close to family, bound together by warmth and firelight, and the simple mercy of a roof. It is a strange comfort, knowing that this feeling, this exact feeling you have right now, wrapped in warmth while the world rages softly outside, is not new. It is not something invented by soft blankets or modern trains. It is ancient. It has always existed, wherever humans have gathered to escape the rain together. You are, in your own quiet way, continuing something very old tonight. The traders who once crossed this land could not have imagined a train like this one. A warm, moving room, gliding silently through darkness that once took them weeks to cross on foot. And yet, you suspect they would have understood immediately what this feeling was. The tea, the fire, the rain outside a thick window, the low hum of safety. Some comforts do not change, no matter how many centuries pass between them. Perhaps that outpost you imagined still exists somewhere out there, in ruins now, its clay walls slowly returning to the earth, its window long since collapsed. Or perhaps it exists only in memory, and in the stories still told by descendants of those old traders, softened and reshaped after so many retellings that no one quite remembers which parts were true. It does not matter tonight which parts were true. What matters is the feeling those stories carried forward. The idea that shelter and warmth and companionship in a storm are among the oldest gifts one traveler can offer another. You take another slow sip of tea. It has cooled slightly, but it is still warm enough to spread that same gentle heat through your chest. The same heat, perhaps, that once spread through the chest of a tired trader 400 years ago, sitting by a different fire, listening to a different rain. The forest outside your window has no memory of borders or empires or the many names this land has worn over centuries. It has only ever known rain and roots and the slow patience of growing. You share that patience now, if only for tonight. Let your eyes rest again on the window, watching the blurred gold light of your own reflection hovering faintly over the darkness beyond. Somewhere out there, the old paths of the Silk Road still trace themselves invisibly beneath new roads, new rails, new rivers of travelers moving through the storm. You are one of them now in your own quiet way, warm, sheltered, listening to the rain, and ready whenever you are to let it carry you further into rest. The rhythm of the train begins to shift ever so slightly, a gentle curve, a softening of speed, and beyond the fogged edges of your window, the darkness changes texture. You are nearing water now, not a river, not a stream, something far larger, something old beyond easy comprehension. Lake Baikal. You cannot see it fully in the dark and the rain, only sense it a great, breathing absence beyond the tree line, deeper than any lake on earth, holding within it water so old that some of it fell as rain long before your grandparents were born. The train tracks trace its southern edge now, close enough that if you listen carefully, beneath the rain and the wheels, you might hear something else. Waves. Soft, unhurried waves, meeting a rocky shore somewhere just beyond the trees. A sound utterly unlike the rain, heavier, slower, older. Somewhere along that shore, half hidden by pine and stone, there is a small wooden cabin. A single window glows amber just as it has, you imagine, for many years. An old man lives there, has lived there, in fact, for longer than most people in the nearest town can quite remember. He was once a meteorologist, sent out decades ago by a government that no longer exists in the same form to record temperatures and pressure and the slow rhythms of weather along this remote shoreline. Most who took such postings stayed a year, perhaps two, before requesting a transfer somewhere warmer, somewhere closer to family. He never left. You imagine him now, the way you might imagine a photograph left too long in the sun, soft at the edges, gentle in its colors, white-haired, slow-moving but not frail. A man whose hands have grown steady rather than shaky, the way hands do when they have spent 50 years performing the same quiet tasks. Tonight, like most nights, he sits at a wooden desk beneath his single window, a small brass lamp glowing beside him, recording the rainfall in a leather notebook worn soft at its corners. He does not do this because anyone asks him to anymore. He does it because he always has, because the rhythm of measuring and recording and watching has become inseparable from the rhythm of simply being alive. Outside his window, the rain falls onto Baikal's dark surface, each drop disappearing into water so vast and so old it barely notices the disturbance. He has watched 1,000 such rains fall the exact same way, and yet, somehow, he has never once found it repetitive. Perhaps that is the secret he has learned, out here alone, that so many miss in louder, busier lives, that stillness is not empty, that the same rain, falling on the same lake, night after night, year after year, can hold an entire lifetime of quiet meaning. He rarely speaks anymore, except to himself and to the small stove that keeps his cabin warm, and once in a while to the trains that pass in the night, though of course they cannot hear him. He has grown used to their sound instead, the distant hum, the rhythmic clack of wheels on wet rail. It has become, over the decades, something like company, a reminder that somewhere out there, other lives continue, other stories move forward, even while his has settled into something calm and unchanging. You wonder, briefly, if he can see your train's lights right now, reflected faintly in the wet glass of his window. Perhaps he can. Perhaps, for just a moment. He looks up from his notebook and watches your warm, golden windows slide slowly past in the dark, and feels, in his own quiet way, less alone. There is no loneliness in the way you imagine him, not really. He chose this, chose the lake and the rain and the long, slow seasons over the noise of a life he might have lived elsewhere. He found, somewhere along the way, a kind of peace that only comes from truly knowing one place, intimately across decades. He knows which rocks the waves strike hardest during a storm. He knows the particular smell of rain on pine needles versus rain on stone. He knows exactly how the light in his cabin changes, hour by hour, as the seasons turn. This knowing, this deep familiarity, has become its own kind of warmth for him, different from a fire, but no less real. You settle back into your own seat, feeling, perhaps, a small echo of that same peace. There is something deeply calming about places like this, places that do not need to be visited by many people to matter. Places that simply continue, quietly, whether anyone notices them or not. The old meteorologist will still be there tomorrow night, recording rainfall no one else will ever read. And somehow this thought does not feel sad. It feels instead like a quiet reassurance that stillness itself has value, that a life lived slowly, deeply, in one small corner of the world can be as full as any other. Your train continues along the water's edge, and slowly, the sound of waves begins to fade behind the returning hush of forest. The lake recedes into darkness once more, keeping its secrets, keeping its old watchmen, keeping its endless, patient rain. You carry a small piece of that stillness with you now, tucked somewhere gently into your chest, right beside the warmth of your tea and the weight of your blanket. Let your breathing slow to match it. There is nowhere else you need to be tonight either. It is time now, slowly, to make your way toward the softest part of the night. You rise from your armchair, unhurried, leaving your empty teacup behind on the small polished table. The samovar continues its quiet breathing, steam curling upward into the lamplight, though you will not need its warmth much longer. Down a narrow corridor, past dark with paneling worn smooth by a century of gentle hands, you find your way to the last car of the train. The Royal Carriage, the final retreat. Its door opens onto a room designed for exactly one purpose: rest. A bed waits for you here, wider and deeper than seems possible in a train car, dressed in layers of heavy linen, and over that, a thick fur throw, dark and soft, the kind that seems to hold warmth inside itself even before you touch it. You sit on its edge and feel it give gently beneath you, welcoming, patient. Beside this bed, another curved window rises, taller than the one in the lounge, framed with heavier drapes pulled halfway open. Beyond it, the rain continues, though somehow here it sounds even softer, further away, as though the entire train has wrapped itself more tightly around this one final room, holding it safe from every trace of the storm outside. You lie back slowly, letting your head sink into a pillow that seems to have been waiting for hours for exactly this moment. The fur throw settles over you next, heavy across your chest, your legs, your feet. It is the particular kind of heavy that does not feel like weight at all, but like reassurance, like something holding you gently in place, the way a hand rests on a shoulder to say, simply, you are safe here. Outside, the endless taiga continues to pass by, mile after mile, hidden now behind rain and darkness and the soft drape of curtains. But you do not need to watch it anymore. You have already seen enough tonight. Forests older than memory, traders who found shelter in ancient storms, a solitary old man recording rainfall beside a lake deeper than the sky is high. All of it is behind you now, gently folded away, the way a good story folds itself quietly into the corners of a tired mind. Beneath you, the train has found the smoothest, straightest stretch of track of the entire journey. The gentle side-to-side sway of earlier hours has faded into something steadier, something almost like floating. Clack, pause, clack, a rhythm slower than your own heartbeat now, patient, unhurried, endless. You feel your body growing heavier against the mattress, sinking deeper into softness with every slow breath. The fur throw has trapped your own warmth against your skin, and it surrounds you now entirely the way deep water surrounds a diver drifting gently toward the surface. Except here, you are only drifting downward into something soft and dark and safe. The rain outside has become something else entirely. Not weather anymore. A lullaby. A steady, whispering hush, meant only for you, meant only for this moment. Somewhere far away, that lonely cabin by the lake still glows with its single amber light. Somewhere far behind you, an ancient trading post still echoes, faintly, with the voices of travelers who found warmth in a storm centuries ago. Somewhere ahead of you, more forest waits, more rain, more quiet miles of dark and silver pine. None of it needs you to be awake for it to continue. You can let go now. The heavy fur throw rises and falls softly with your breathing. Slower now, deeper now. Your hands have relaxed against the linen, palms open, fingers loose. Your shoulders have sunk fully into the pillow beneath them. Even your thoughts have begun to soften, losing their edges, drifting into the same gentle blur as the rain-streaked window beside you. You are warm. You are safe. You are exactly where you need to be. The train continues its slow glide through the endless dark, carrying you gently forward, asking nothing of you, expecting nothing of you, offering only this warmth and rhythm and rain and rest. Let your eyes close fully now if they have not already. Let the sound of the rain become the only thing you notice. Let the weight of the fur blanket become the only thing you feel. There is nowhere left to travel tonight except into sleep itself. And the train, patient as it has always been, patient as the forest, patient as the lake, will carry you there gently, mile by quiet mile, rain by quiet rain. You are drifting now, somewhere between the last of these words and the beginning of your own dreams. The rain continues outside, soft and endless, exactly as it has all night. The fur throw remains heavy and warm across you. Somewhere far off, the train moves on through the dark taiga, steady, unhurried, certain of its way. You do not need to hold on to anything else tonight. Not the forest, not the old stories, not even these words. Only this feeling warm, held, safe needs to stay with you now. Let it carry you the rest of the way. Sleep well, quiet traveler. The rain will keep falling. The train will keep moving, and you will remain all through the night, perfectly warm, perfectly safe, perfectly still.